It's Libra season, basically my second birthday. I think of it in that way, as Libra is in my first house. There's actually always crazy changes that happen for me during Libra season. As this affects my first house is the house of your soul trajectory, leadership, assertiveness, the self. I feel like it's very airy for people to think your rising sign is just how other people perceive you. That's just a very blanket statement. For me, the technicality of the rising sign and sun sign difference is that your sun sign is your ego. It's what drives you in terms of motivation, that burst of this is who I am. I do like to correlate that your sun sign is how you see your ego. How can you focus your energy on your sun sign? Like, how can you learn from your sun sign? How can you embody that archetype from the zodiac? With the Leo and the sun, we got big egos. We learn through life because we have big egos. Yes. If you're talking to a Leo, I know this is about Libra, but let me just say this real quickly. If you're talking to a Leo, you're like, oh, they're never gonna listen to me. Best believe they're not gonna listen to you. They're gonna need life to humble them. I say that complete from experience. Back to Libra, I also like to keep track of the significant full moon happening during the sun season. I like to see the contrast between the moon's peak energy at that time and then what the sun is going through. Collective thing where to see everybody's ego change a little bit to accommodate to whatever's happening with the sun's orbit. Inner world moon is like highlighting something else and could be something different. For me, how these two play a role actually shows me something. The Aries Hunter moon was the full moon of this month. I like to take the sign of the full moon and then contrast it with the sign of the sun's zodiac of the time. See where they contrast in my houses. Aries is in my 7th house. During the time of the full moon, which is a peak of 2 to 3 days, of that kind of full moon energy, there was a highlight of my 7th house. Now this is where it gets really fun and interesting to do like some kind of astrology math in a way. My 1st house, Libra, is getting highlighted with the sun. Contrasting that with my 7th house is showing that the way that I'm assertive, the way that I'm a leader to myself, the way that where my soul wants to go, that is having a highlight with how I view relationships, how connections are with me right now. Do I even want the same type of relationships that would impact how I'm seeing how I am now? And I forgot to mention that, because I already got into the trajectory of the sun sign, your rising sign, do we always feel like we're meant to be where we're at? Could talk about astrocartography and a whole different thing. I'm still learning what that is even. I have no fucking idea. Your soul trajectory is where you find comfort. My comfort, even though my energy is so Leo in terms of my motivation, my comfort is a balanced, harmony-filled, scaled place. I live for justice. I live for love. I live for things that make people come together. But I have the energy of the Leo to bring that forth. When people say rising sign is how people see you, I'm just like, that just sounds so empty, because there's a reason behind that. Reason you're pronounced in a certain way. I can see that my soul wants to just bring people together, wants to live in a place of community. That's why I always talk about community so fucking much. That's what people end up seeing, is that soul drive, because that's what you're naturally called towards. Having that contrast of balancing my leadership skills with how I view relationships, that was a really pivotal time during Libra's season. Know who you are in your independence while knowing who you are around other people as well. For people that have Libra in their 1st house, these are the notes I wrote. Gracious nature exudes harmony and balance. People in their Libra essence naturally can just form groups, go into random social things and just, hey, balance it out. That's what they emit. Elsa wrote, a natural socialite and diplomat, peace to environments around. Having the skill to be able to bring a group together. Not everyone wants to do that, and not everyone can do that. Making everyone feel comfortable together. How a group sets their tone is by the person who created it. The person who creates it puts their own energy into that. For Libra leaders, it'd be hard to kind of see who they are because they kind of like fit in with everybody. Libras don't specifically go towards being front face of leadership because they'd have more of a strength to be a little bit behind the scenes, being like, oh no, this is their strength, this is their strength, this assistant of the leader in a beautiful way. This is why I feel like my contrast of having Leo and Libra is so interesting. Leos love to be a leader. They can be a leader and they have the confidence, they have the energy. They also have the diplomacy to want other people to be included, but they want to lead. And I feel that. I have the capacity to lead. I would want to lead in some situations, and then there I go. Also see the other part of me being like, there's sometimes I don't want to lead. There's sometimes I can see that there's someone who can lead better. There's something else that I can do better. I can also just like mesh like that. I love the balance between Leo and Libra for me. Libra notes in general are right here. If you're a Libra, if you have any Libra in your sign, if you know any Libras, see if these notes here mesh with anything you feel internally, because this is how I feel about the Libra archetype. These notes are also referenced with the book Inner Sky. These notes are inspired by that book. I find this book is one of the most unbiased astrology books if you're purely wanting to learn what the signs are instead of someone else's opinion about what the signs are. Almost a scientific understanding logically would make sense. That book alone is actually what inspired me to love astrology. I wasn't seeing it from someone's weird bias towards Leos. It was literally like, no, the Leo has this thing because of this. And that made me see every sign completely different. Oh, Tauruses naturally do this because of this. Why there could be a good generalization for some things and not, but there is that backing of what inspired the signs. These are the things that happened during Libra season when I was embodying these things of the Libra in the first house notes and just owning that first house spotlight. As I have mentioned before, but I will mention again, there was a balance of relationships and personal goals. It was so nice to see myself for once enjoy my alone time after being around someone. If I were to spend a couple days with someone hanging out just very casually and stuff, I could get really into that. That's all my inner being wants, is just someone to just be comfortably around. I find that when we would split, I didn't yearn to still be with them. I didn't yearn to like, oh, I still want to be around someone. No, I was like, oh yay, my alone time, yay, now I could get back to this, now I could get back to that. I haven't seen that in myself ever. So to actually be like, oh, we're done hanging out now? Okay, now I'm back to doing my stuff. Oh, we're gonna hang out again? Okay, so it was like just like a nice flow instead of just wishing I was always with them or wishing I was always alone. Now I was kind of feeling like, okay, now I can kind of go in between. I changed my paradigm about how I view my social media platforms, and it's purely a milestone celebration place for me now. Didn't really ever know what I wanted out of my social media, and that's probably why I never blew up into a specific niche. Felt like I was a little bit everywhere. Now I just want it to be a place where I do celebrate, still share, my realness, my talks, my crying. Of course, that's still gonna be on there. When I look back on all my creations on there, when these apps do remember what you did last year, like I live for that. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. Last year, I was really stuck on this. Now I can't even imagine being stuck on that. Wow, last year I looked like that. This year I look like this. During this month, I have a huge big emphasis that I have no more tolerance for people who gossip or lack accountability. And when I say gossip, of course there's gossip. When I mean it becomes harmful, when all you do is just talk about other people and not in a good way. There's gossip to be like, oh, have you heard this? Have you heard this? And then there's another to be like, have you heard that? They're so fucking ugly. They're so stupid. There's that where you're taking the gossip and you're just like really like making it personal, making it negative. Have no tolerance. Sure, like some petty gossip of, oh, have you heard this? Have you heard this? I'm not gonna be like, oh, I'm not gonna be your friend because you're just saying, have you heard this? Have you heard this? Like, I personally don't like to do that, but I will understand if someone does that. Only when you start doing the negative thing with it is when I'm like, okay, yeah, I do not want this person around me. If you're talking so much shit about someone you don't even know, I cannot imagine how much shit you're talking about with me. And the girl roommate is a big example of that. I thought I could have tolerance of, you know, having her around and stuff, but now I have none. I'm not inviting that into my life, not excusing it, and big on not excusing it anymore. I'm so tired of excusing immaturity. I've come to relove YouTube as a digital journal. There was a moment where I was still being consistent in terms of my monthly vlogs and my astrology reflections. I didn't know what I wanted to do out of YouTube other than that anymore, because I think I felt that like internal pressure of, how am I gonna make a presence on YouTube? I feel like I've been on YouTube for a year, things haven't gone like a jump up. I'm just teeter-tottering. Almost like, what's the point of me making videos on YouTube? That's how I was starting to feel. I knew money was not a big part of YouTube for me, and hearing more creators talk about how that AdSense thing, it's not as financially fulfilling as a lot of people try to make it out to be. Personally, I'm not ever gonna put the AdSense thing on. I find it annoying. Even when I'm watching creators like get your bag. I've heard a creator mention that like out of the AdSense thing, they make like $100 out of it a month. That's not worth the annoyance of ads. I'd rather have people watch my full hour-long video, no ads, than receive like $2 from it. Fuck that. No. I'd rather, like, ads piss me off so much that I don't even want to enforce that on people who watch my videos. I'd rather miss out on fucking ad money. I don't want to be at that place where I'm just trying to find money like 10 cents everywhere here I go anymore. I've been living ever since leaving OnlyFans. Sure, in one aspect it could be like, oh, I'm maybe thinking in abundance that I could have multiple streams of income, which is not far off and something I do want. Now I'm not like desperately trying to find money everywhere I can, especially with ads. You're not gonna fucking get me with that. Piss me off. By reframing how I'm seeing YouTube, it made me love my creations for what they are instead of the results that they bring me. Every time I think about results for any of my creations, I get stressed, and I could feel myself not wanting to do the creation itself because of the result pressure. Now, the presence is a present for me. In Libra scale fashion, I was able to see the other side to my victim. Another beautiful strength of Libras, being able to tolerate paradoxes, as mentioned in this list. Have you ever talked to a Libra? You're telling them about an issue. They are one of the first signs to kind of be like, oh, but you can see it in this way. There's another way to see this. And of course, that could be annoying for a lot of people. One thing I do want to say, Libras, before you jump into, oh, but can you see the other side? Validate the person first. That's something I've learned from experience. That's something I do want as like a person. Like something I despise is sharing a story, sharing my feelings, sharing my experience, and the other person is already like, but have you thought about what the other person feels? Have you thought about this situation? I hate that. I will think about it, and I guaranteed I have. I'm a big overthinker. I just want to be validated by someone else because that's the reason I'm sharing it. I don't need to dissect my brain more than I already have before having more conversation on why I should think about the other thing instead of me. Back to the tolerating paradox thing. To this day, as I'm recording, it's almost the end of Scorpio season, don't judge me. But during Libra season, oh, I'm celebrating, oh, the milestones, all the things that I achieved, and not in a way of like, oh yeah, I achieved those things. It was like, no, bitch, you did so many things. You've done so many things. Celebrate it now. Don't be shy. Don't wait for other people. Celebrate it now. But part of me always held back on even celebrating my weight loss, even celebrating my spiritual journey. Just felt like there was always someone not happy with that. I got taken personal. I was scared to celebrate it. I was scared to celebrate things. Two things. I didn't feel like it wasn't the big picture, which sucks to say, but it's the truth. Felt like every time I did celebrate my stuff in the past, nobody cared. It took me a long time for me to be like, fuck, but I care. I care about my accomplishments. That took a long time. recently, actually. I write weekly lists of things to celebrate, of things to stop and smell my garden for that I've cultivated, lists of full circles, what went right, glimmers. Glimmers are opposite of triggers, my desires. That way I could keep myself in a flow of, yes, I have things to look forward to. Now I'm like, no, these are things I get to look forward to, not that I have to do them right away. Overall, these lists help me maintain optimism because I want to maintain optimism. That's what keeps the hope. This month, it really reminded me what I'm doing life for in general. And in the end, I found the answer. I'm doing life to be present with my full self, my full expressions, and be happy with what's in front of me. No longer care or want to control the path of connections. I would do this in the past by overgiving. It was never that I would constantly ask other people to do this for me, to be this for me. It was me being more for that other person so they can see the value of me. That's so fucked. Oh, you needed a motherly figure in your life? Let me be that for you. It was that. Like, I would fucking do other people's chores, help motivate them to whatever they were feeling lack of at that time. I would do the most for the next person, and then all of a sudden when they have that energy, they're gone. I help them be and remind them who they are. They could let me be in their life. Like, what the fuck? Now I just let people be what they want to be in front of me, and now I get to see it if I want to stay for that. Not to say every small thing I don't like, I'm just like, oh yeah, fuck that. No, it's more like if there's small annoyances and stuff like that, I can address those things. But when it comes to a point where I'm asking you to talk to me, I'm reminding you that I'm here, I don't need to be doing that anymore. I don't need to remind people to be consistent towards me if that's not even something they want to do. Now I get to see if I want to continue choosing them. I don't want to give people the constant power to choose me. It never was the case that people ever chose me after all the overgiving I did. Because as soon as that shit stopped and I wanted it to be equal, they were gone. Sometimes I didn't even reach that point where I would ask for the reciprocity. Sometimes they would just be gone. They would take what they need and be gone. And then I'd get resentful. I'm like, well, I did this and that for them. How come they didn't stay? First, they didn't even ask me to do that. And second, they weren't even someone supposed to be in my life like that. Now I just really let other people be. Oh, you want to ghost me for a week? Okay, don't expect the same person when you come back. Every day is judgment day. I hold integrity to what's fair for me. I'm louder with how I do online activism towards my virtues. Then to conclude this season, it was so cute to see myself enjoy new connections more from an intellectual standpoint than just the comfort zone of only emotional. Like in the past, I would just be so used to, oh, you want to be around me? You want to be in my life? Okay, let's hang out all the time. Let's talk to each other all the time. Let's tell each other really deep stuff. Let's get into it. Let's get into the emotions. Let's drink. Let's get into the emotions. So used to that I almost forgot that there was also just straight intellectual connections. Have stimulating conversations with you who share their perspectives as much as they want to listen to yours. It's been so long since I've had that kind of connection, so long since I felt like someone wanted to hear what I wanted to say, that I got reminded that, oh yeah, people also enjoy the intellectual side of me too, if I also enjoy that of myself. It felt really freeing from codependency, honestly. Painted a really interesting picture that the codependency stems from just wanting only that emotional connection. Having that intellectual connection kind of keeps that attachment at bay. Another person, and they're not yours. They have other opinions. Up to you if you agree with it or not. And it's up to you if you want to be around them or not. Really nice intellectual emotional balance that I had this month. It's a really, really beautiful Libra season. I'm changing my astrology thing again. I'm actually just gonna drop one zodiac at a time since I do blab so fucking much about them. I love to get into detail of the house, detail of the zodiac, detail of what that zodiac means to me, of where it is in my chart, what I learned of that zodiac. There's not one zodiac that I don't want to learn. that I don't want to experience. All the zodiacs are so fun for me. It's almost like every month I get to shapeshift a little bit into that archetype a little. Learn. Ultimately learn. And reflect, learn, reflect. That's what these astrology videos are. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you watch my astrology videos, please know you are the real ones. A different perspective to talking about astrology. I don't expect a lot of traction from my astrology videos because, for one, I just blab the fuck out of it. If you're not into astrology, I can see how this is not even an interest for you at all. You're like, what the fuck is she saying? I'm also like that. This person doesn't know what she's saying. So that I'm not here to convince you what I'm learning or what I know. I don't even care. I see myself evolving into something beautiful with astrology and having this foundation of me learning what it is. It's cute. I like that I've been doing this for a year. I like that I'm learning so much through actually trying to experience it instead of just, oh yeah, I know that freaking Sagittarius person. That's all I need to know about Sagittarius. I don't want to live like that. That sounds very boring. That sounds very limited. I'd rather own that Sagittarius energy when it's Sagittarius season and see for myself what it's about. Not to say, oh, now I'm a Sagittarius sun. It's like, no, I get it. Get it a little bit more. If you're planning to be in community and you're planning to build a team, you gotta learn different types of people. I want to learn through the archetype of astrology. It's not to say that I think every freaking Virgo is the same. Hell no. I definitely know that's not the case. Before I get into a huge blurb of me defending why I'm doing astrology, which I know I don't need to do. I know I don't need to do that. Thank you for watching. If you have a Libra in your chart, let me know. And if you watch the end of this video, let me know so I know who the real ones are. Yeah. Thank you. Love you, Libras.